What's up guys, welcome back to the Piston Show. Today we have here with us the Omoda C9 by Jaiku Malaysia. Now you might be wondering why Jaiku Malaysia and not Cherry, Omoda and such. Yes, I understand it was a little bit confusing at first, but I think there have been a lot of articles and videos and such explaining why. But just to sort of recap, the Omoda C9 is sold by Jaiku Malaysia because Jaiku and Omoda is actually supposed to be one step higher, a little bit considered a luxury brand from Cherry, right? So back when we first got a hold of the Cherry and Omoda brand in Malaysia, we had the Cherry Omoda, but now they have been separated and Omoda is under Jaiku Malaysia's team. That's the thing about Chinese car makers, right? They do things very fast and they refine it as we go. Not really a bad thing, because judging by how good this car is, I think we have to give the Chinese credit, because the Omoda C9 is priced at 189,000 ringgit. It's a D segment SUV, but it's making life difficult for C segment players. Omoda C9, I'll tell you more about it in a minute. So the C9 is made here in Malaysia, and I've read somewhere that the C9 is currently the only locally assembled car that comes with a matte paint job. Fantastic! But the only thing about the matte paint job is that it can be difficult to take care of, because imagine if you just were to scratch this thing. Even though it's a very shallow scratch, you can't just buff that thing out. So you have to be extra careful with matte paint jobs, but there's no denying that it looks fantastic. Besides that, it also comes with 20-inch wheels. 20 inches for a car that costs 189 grand. Fantastic, but changing the tires and such might be expensive lah. But since you're buying the car for so cheap, why are you worried about the tires, right? And besides that, you also get this Sigma style daytime running lights with LEDs. Everything looks really good. You can't take that away from this car. It's definitely a looker. In fact, some might think that it is an EV, because it really does sort of look like an EV. In fact, there's a plug-in hybrid version of this coming up soon. But anyway, can't deny, good looking car. Let's go check out the back. With the C9, you get these pop-up door handles that sit flush with the body of the car when you lock it or when you are driving the car, making it look really cool. There's a Chinese car thing, I think they love this. And then the back, actually really just like the front, looks good as well. You get the third brake lights placed up here. Oddly, I think that the other car maker that has their third brake light placed up there, the Haval 6, I think. Anyway, Omoda 9. I thought this was the C9. Something happened to the C. Perhaps it dropped off. Anyway, you also get quad exhausts. Or do you? Because our thorough investigation, more like putting our camera phones down there, revealed that there are actually just two exhaust vents placed right at the back, meaning that these things are fake, bro. And then you do get a really usable boot space. This is good. You get a tonneau cover and a lot of storage space, and you get over 1,000 liters of storage space if the seats are flat. One thing I like though is the carpet for this thing is very plush and makes the boot space look very good. And you get a full-size spare wheel. A full-size spare wheel is something that Jaiku Malaysia is particularly proud of, and they pay particular attention to details like this. I had a conversation, I think it was Emily Lake, the vice president of Jaiku Malaysia, that mentioned that they pay a lot of attention to stuff like ensuring you have a full-size spare wheel, just like you usually used to get in olden days, meaning that there's little to no chance of you getting stranded by the side of the road should you get a flat. The interior of the C9 looks really good, doesn't it? And it is quite impressive. It's a nice place to be in. Everything feels like proper high quality stuff, and it feels like it will last quite a while. And I really don't have a very big bone to pick over here. I do have a couple of things that I need to say. First things first, let me just get the good things out of the way. I've mentioned about the quality, the seats. I mean, these are great seats. They're a little bit on the harder side. I mean, you don't really sit nicely in them. It feels like you're sitting on them rather than sinking into them and having them hold you in place. But that aside, these 3 dials over here, this is for your air conditioning controls, and this is for your drive modes, which you get 7 drive modes: eco, normal, sport, snow, mud, sand, and off-road. So all of that does a special something to the all-wheel drive system, to the way the accelerator feels, to the way the steering feels, as well as the adaptive suspension, which I'll touch on later. Yes, this car comes with adaptive suspension. Do you know any other car that comes with adaptive suspension at 189 grand? Yeah, neither do I. Anyway, you also get wireless Apple CarPlay, which you access to stuff like this. Oh, where is it? Wireless Apple CarPlay, must. Leapmotor, I'm looking at you when I'm saying this. You must have Apple CarPlay in your car. And this instrument cluster over here, I mean, before I touch on this, I complain about this, let me just show you that this entire thing is one giant screen. Again, very Mercedes-Benz, but there are a lot of things inside here that are very Mercedes-Benz lah. So, but anyway, this instrument cluster over here, how do I say this? It just looks like it wants to confuse the hell out of you while you are driving. There's just so many things. Like, I just can imagine my father driving this car and trying to figure out where the speed reading is. It's overly complicated. I don't like it. It's just too complicated for my liking. And I do appreciate the fact that you get shifter pedals though. This is brilliant. Brings out the true character of the 2-liter engine, makes it more accessible. Makes the power more accessible, I mean. You also get a heads-up display, nice, clear reading, fantastic as well. I think it's colorized. I'll need to check that out. Anyway, you get more Mercedes-Benz inspired switches over here. Check out the placement of your seat controls, just as they are in a, you guessed it. So the other things that you I need to mention are these haptic touch buttons over here on the steering wheel. Not a fan because I have sweaty palms, and when you have sweaty palms, your hand tends to slide all over the place instead of pressing down on it. So haptic buttons on the steering wheel are, again, reminds you of which car maker? Yeah, exactly. So the other thing that I need to mention to you is this double stacked storage space over here. But check out the positioning of the USB port. It's all the way over there. So if you are driving this car alone, man, you would be hard done to reach that USB port, just like I was yesterday. I mean, why? And that's the thing about Chinese car makers. I want to talk to you about that shortly, but let me take your attention back down here and show you what this thing is over here. This clever little thing is actually fragrances for the car. Now I put it in there over here. I can smell it already. And so you can choose 3 different fragrances from here. There, you press on fragrance. So you get, now it's not slotted in, so it says fragrance free. So you get different types of fragrances. And let me just slot this back in. Now you get something called a cure. and this is a sport, and this is natural. So something to cure you, something to keep you sporty, something to make you smell natural. So, you know which other car maker has that? Mercedes-Benz, bro. So the things about this car, let me take you back to ergonomics. So besides the positioning of that USB port, very weird lah, over there. Why there? Why not here? Why not up here? Why not inside here? Is there any inside here? Tada. So are there inside here? Mutte. So there's all these things in here that just in terms of ergonomics, I think this is where I'm quite excited about the evolution of the Chinese car makers, because right now they have shown that they can take the best from all the best car makers out there in the world, such as Mercedes-Benz and such, and make it better and cheaper. But along the way, they have forgotten ergonomics, driver ergonomics. Certain things like the placement of that USB, the design of the center console, which gets wider as it goes up and hence pushes your knee this way. So it sort of makes it feel like the position of the pedals are slightly offset, and it makes you feel like you're sitting like that. I'll explain more about this later, but these are certain ergonomics. When you first get in here, you just sort of feel like you can't sit properly. Of course, as you get more well acquainted with this car, everything comes together very nicely, but initially, this is something that will sort of blow your mind, not in a good way. Now, before we explore this car further, particularly the back seats, I'd just like to talk to you a little bit about the menu of this car, because this is part of the ergonomics of the car as well. Now, let me turn the air conditioning down so you can hear me, and it does not, you don't get this buzzing sound. So anyway, oh, this is for the back seats. Anyway, how do I, see what I mean? So now I have to wait for this to disappear. There you go. So now I get a bunch of menus over here. I get quick control. This lets me, decide which mode that I want to drive in, and then you get the vehicle settings. And then this lets me adjust how I want the steering wheel to feel like, comfort, sport, and comfort. So just comfort and sport. So this can make the steering wheel feel heavier or heftier, like put some weight to it. So you get a bunch of different menus, but what I like about this is this mode over here. Suspension linked to the drive mode. So now I can have the suspension mode as standard, comfort, or sport. So now I can have suspension in comfort mode, and it'll be nice and soft. Sport means firm, and standard means standard lah, normal riding mode, right? So I can have this in comfort now, and if I turn this on, I can have the suspension tuned to linked to the type of mode that I'm in. And the reason why it's not turning on, you can see that it keeps turning off over here. That's because if I go here, you'll notice that there is no comfort mode, which is rather odd. You get eco, normal, sport, snow, mud, sand, off-road. But if I want my suspension to be soft, comfort, I can't have it linked to the mode because there's no comfort mode. Now let's try in sport. There is a sport mode as I showed you, and let's see if it turns on. No, it doesn't. So if I put it in standard, still doesn't. Let me try to change the mode.
Normal mode.
So if I put it, still doesn't. Weird. Drive mode, memory. No. For some reason, it doesn't let me link the suspension to the drive modes, because that's what it says. Suspension linked to driving mode. But weird. I'll just leave it at that. The back seat of the C9 though, it's very nice. It's a nice place to spend time in. It's a nice place to even get driven in, because the seats are comfortable, slightly on the firmer side, as I've said, with the front seats as well, but they're comfortable. I like the amount of recline that you have for the backrest. They don't really force you upright, but in case you want to sit upright, you can electronically adjust them. No manual lever over here. Electronically adjust them, and now you're sitting more upright. This also creates more storage space in the boot. So this is quite clever. And keep in mind, this is a D segment SUV that is priced at cheaper than the likes of some of the more expensive C segment cars like the Honda CR-V RS Hybrid. That's the flagship of the CR-V variants. And I think the new Kia Sportage as well, if I'm not mistaken. And the other thing about the back seats of the C9 is that you get a single air conditioning vent over here. You get to adjust your blower settings from here. You get seat warmers, which are completely redundant in a country like Malaysia. Quite odd, because this is a locally assembled car, so seat warmers should have been replaced with ventilated seats lah. But you also get Type A and Type C USB ports over here. Now, you might think, why would a brand like Omoda, since it's a luxury division of Chery and all, just give you one air conditioning vent? Of course they thought of that. And the other air conditioning vent is placed right here on the B pillar. You can see it here. So this, my friends, is actually where you should have air conditioning vents correctly placed for back seat passengers. It should be here on the B pillar, or it should be up here at the top of the roof over here. So this is absolutely spot on in my personal opinion, because you want cold air to be blown to your face, not to your knee. And since we are here, check out the design of this speaker. This is very, very cool. Again, Sony sound system. Now, this thing about this electronic adjustment for the seat, this bottom part doesn't work. This is a dud. So it's just there for design. Even, I don't know why. Oh, by the way, check this out. So there's two ways to open the door. You can either pull this latch, or there is a button over here that you can push. So you can mechanically open it, and you can electronically open it. So depending whether you're old school or new school. At the heart of this C9 is this 2-litre 4-cylinder turbocharged engine, offering you 261 PS and 400 Newton meters of torque. This is the flagship all-wheel drive variant, hence its price, and that means that power is sent to all 4 wheels via an 8-speed torque converter gearbox. It's a smooth shifter. It's not exactly very punchy, it's very linear. Now, it has a very nice character, but as I'll tell you later, this is an all-wheel drive layout, and that means that it can be quite thirsty as well. Driving the Omoda C9 it's actually quite a nice experience, but there are a couple of things about it that I feel I should voice out. So when you first look at this car, you look at it as a big SUV. It doesn't do a very good job at hiding its heft when you're behind the seat though. So from here, the C9 feels quite big. In fact, when you sit in here, it feels like it's bigger than it actually is. So this is usually not a problem, because for those of you who like sitting up high, like having a good vision all around, you might actually like this. But when you are in a parking lot, for example, navigating one of those tighter parking lots that you get, particularly with old shopping malls, this can be quite daunting. Thank God then, there's a plenty of sensors all around. And then it is this center console over here. Because it gets wider upwards as it connects to the dashboard. So what it forces you to do is that it forces you to move your knee inwards. There's plenty of space here on the right in between the steering wheel and the door panel. So there's plenty, you can get quite comfortable, and that's a good thing. But over here, you think that you might be able to, rest your knee and such. You can, but I wish I would have been able to, get a little bit more comfortable. And what this does is, it creates an illusion that that your legs are slightly towards the right, like in one of those old Lamborghinis. So the steering wheel is here, but your legs are slightly to the right. It's of course just an illusion, because as soon as you sit straight, then it's okay. But if you want to sort of just rest your knee, then it creates that illusion. But that aside, the other thing that I want to just say is that this center panel should have been a little bit lower, because right now it's just here. I mean, it's great if I want to rest my arm, then I have to sit like this or like that. But if I'm driving, this gets in the way of my elbow. I think it's because I have unnaturally long arms. So yes, I'm quite aware of that. And besides that, then though, driving the C9 is quite nice. Refinement levels are good. Power delivery, 400 Nm of torque. It's not explosive, it's just linear power delivery. I can live with that. And the other thing that you should know is that this is the all-wheel drive variant, and it can get quite thirsty. So throughout my test drive experience, I've been seeing an average fuel consumption figure between 9.5 to close to 11 liters per 100 km, which is typical of all-wheel drive powertrains. So it's no big deal. Again, I always tell everybody that asks me about all-wheel drive powertrains, I think the trade-off of having the grip of all-wheel drive, especially in slippery conditions like we have in Malaysia with our torrential monsoon rains, I think it's a worthy trade-off, because you have all four wheels turning at the same time, and this just maximizes the amount of grip that you have, hence improving safety. So I think this fuel consumption figure is a worthy trade-off. I have an all-wheel drive car at home, and I feel safe driving it, especially in one of those torrential rains where I can barely see past 3 meters or something like that. You know what I'm talking about. Here in Malaysia, we get that so much. So I don't mind the all-wheel drive system, as I've said. And then let me just get past this toll. So right now, off the bat, as I've said, power isn't exactly explosive and such, but it gets you up to speed rather quick. Right now, I'm going quicker than I should be into this corner. And then you have road hoggers like this, but it's okay, that's a different topic. The other thing that I like about the C9 is adaptive suspension. Continuous suspension damping or something of that sort. It's quite clever, because of course it reacts to the mode that you're in. So if you are in eco mode, normal mode gets softer, and then you're in sport mode and such, it gets a little bit stiffer and such, the usual stuff, right? But this is quite unique as well, because you can actually turn it off. I mean, you can turn off the part where it adapts itself to the driving mode that you're in, and have it just set at, for example, at normal mode. Surprisingly, talking about mode, surprisingly this car does not have comfort mode. You have eco, normal, sport, snow, mud, sand and off-road, but not comfort. That would have just softened the suspension a little bit. But then again, I always think that Chinese cars are just way too soft for my liking. This is very nice damping. So the adaptive suspension of sorts, you got to ask lah, ultimately, how much is it going to cost for you to replace it in the event that it fails? Because stuff like this, canggih lah kan, canggih. It's very, very advanced, it's very good, and it's brilliant. But when time comes for maintenance, how much is it going to be? So I have no data, I have no idea. So that's something that you should ask the salesperson that's trying to sell you the car. So I know that the more expensive ones from Volvos and such, those can be very, very expensive. 5 figures bang. This one, tak tahu. So time will tell. And then nice car, Lexus RC. LC, sorry, not RC. And anyway, got distracted there. Nice 5-liter V8. How can you not like it? So the things about the C9, other things that you should know about this car is that refinement levels in here are fantastic. You get double glazed windows, which does a brilliant job at keeping the interior quiet. Let's see if I hear this Range Rover. I didn't hear that bike. This Mercedes. No, didn't hear it either. Is there any 2-stroke bike coming? Some of those annoying insect-like sounds that they create. Well, I'm sure I'll pass by one soon. Malaysia lah. And the seats though, I would like to talk about the seats a little bit. Because the seats, they look great, they feel great, but they just somehow feel like you are sitting on them. You know, really good seats feel like you're sitting in them. You just sort of they embrace you in comfort. This just sort of, I don't know lah. There's just something that it's not right. Perhaps it's a little bit hard and such. I'm not 100% sure. Another thing that I really need you guys to understand about the Omoda C9, but it's not only the C9 that does this, it's a lot of other car makers from People's Republic of China, is this instrument cluster. This instrument cluster feels like you are looking or you're trying to, tell it to do multiple things at the same time. Let me see if I can just calculate how many things. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31. It's showing me 31 different things at the same time. 31 different things. I've been trying to look for a simpler readout, simpler display, right? But I can't seem to find it. I can't seem to simplify this. It's just too many things at the same time. And I just want the speed. I want to know my fuel consumption. I want to know the range that I have. I want to know my petrol status. I want to know just basic stuff like that. I don't want to know the trip. If I wanted to, I would like to scroll through it and look for it. I don't want to know the time that amount of time I've been driving this car. I don't want to know the average vehicle speed, average fuel efficiency. I don't want to know what song that I'm listening to. If I wanted to, I'll look for it. I don't want to know what car is right ahead of me. I don't know all these things. If I wanted to, I would like to select a button and choose that and then read what I want to know. I don't want it to be there because I want a simpler readout that just tells me the essentials. So that is, for me, I don't know, I find it very irritating. And then there's the sound system though. Sound system deserves a special mention. Sony sound system, Sony sound system, multiple speakers around the car, banging, sounds like a club. It's Friday today, perfect to get you in the mood. And the C9, when we first sat in this car, when it was launched last year, the thing that blew me away was the side door panels, the stitching, the ambient lights everywhere. The other thing that I really liked are the size of the carpets. They are very thick, very Rolls-Royce-like. I mean, not as thick as that of a Rolls-Royce, but almost there. So that is stuff that I look out for. And I like that because it makes the interior feel very nice. You know, you come in here, you put your feet on the carpet, feels nice. You sit on the seats, they may be a little bit stiff, but it's okay. They look good. They're sort of comfortable, you know. And then you see this door panel over here. You see this plush stitching and I think this leather, and it makes you feel like you're in a car that is very expensive, and that is nice. So that's what you get with the Omoda C9. Yes, there are a couple of things that are irritating, like the instrument cluster, there are a couple of things like that. And then, you know, the back seats are fantastic as well. So for your family, it's brilliant. And then the price tag, under 190k. Kind of made life difficult for Honda and the CR-V, because if you have never driven the Honda CR-V hybrid and you're just going to compare spec sheet to spec sheet, then suddenly the Honda doesn't make a lot of sense. But once you drive the Honda, you'll know that it's also a very nice car to drive. Refinement levels, I would argue, that are up to or perhaps even better than the Omoda C9. It's very quiet, the Honda CR-V hybrid. You should really go drive the car. It's really very quiet, and I like that. You know, if you want a loud car, brash and such, buy a sports car. Why a C or D segment SUV? You buy this car because you want to be comfortable, ma. And this is what it does very well, Omoda C9. Just really the Chinese, even though they claim a lot of stuff from Mercedes-Benz, which just irritates me. But they do such a good job. It's nice. So the Omoda C9 at 189,000 ringgit seems like a good deal, doesn't it? You also get a 7-year or 150,000 kilometer warranty on the car. But I suggest that you visit Jaiku Malaysia's or Omoda Malaysia's website, because the 7-year warranty does not cover everything. There are certain parts about the car that are only covered by a 2 or a 3-year warranty, and that is detailed in the website of Omoda, or was it Jaiku? I read it, but it's just too long, too detailed. So I suggest that before you look into this car, go and check out the warranty and read the fine print, because not everything is covered by the 7-year warranty. It checks almost all the boxes. Ergonomics aside, it's also quite nice to drive. So to me, I think that the C9 just makes a lot of sense. There's no wonder then that people are going crazy about the Omoda C9. And considering that it's just priced at 189 grand, it seems like a no-brainer. But guys, look out for this matte paint job. This is not easy to take care. In fact, if you are looking at this car, I suggest get it wrapped in that same color so you don't take away its character of the car, because taking care of this is not going to be easy. I had a car like this before and I wouldn't do it again. Anyway guys, thank you for watching. I'm Kashi Dylan and I just told you about the Omoda C9. Thank you for watching again. Do hit that subscribe button.